My name is Bernice. Yeah, all my comedy stuff is under Bernice Comedy. So if you go to Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, find Bernice Comedy. That's me. Yeah.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, it is going to be a great interview because I have Bernice Ye, aka Bing Bing. I'm in our Bing Bing, aka Bernice Ye comedy. Links will be in the description, but she is a comedian and she's going to give us the game on, I saw her stuff and I'm like, oh, she's funny. I hear it. And, comedy is probably one of the hardest things to do, especially now, because you folks listening and watching and your friends and family, you can't take a joke. You don't want to hear anything about, whether you're on the left, the right, black, white, everything in between. So welcome to the show, Bernice. How are you doing today?
Hello. I am doing great. I'm on the Pacific time zone, so this is my first thing in the morning. I just had my coffee. Wonderful.
And that's a nice way to say I woke up like that. And you look great. So that's a great thing.
No, I did it for you. Okay, put the lipsticks on. No.
Gotcha. Well, tell us this journey because, female comedians is hard enough. But then when you say Chinese female comedians, of course, there's like maybe one or two names the masses who follow comedy can say, oh, I know this person or I know that person. And, those people are funny. But for me, I'm like, I know so many people of so many places that are funny. And I'm like, there's other names than what you saw on Netflix
I
yesterday
know.
or,
Yeah.
20 years ago. So how did you get into comedy?
Oh my goodness. So this is, I feel like it almost have to take a couple of steps back because I was born and raised in China. I grew up until I was like 21, right? I never thought about doing comedy because actually in China, we don't even have stand-up comedy. Like at least the time I grew up, there's no such art form of stand-up comedy. I came to America, I did my job and like establish myself in the first 10 years and I just never thought doing this thing at all. I'm just learning English, okay? English and American culture and all. I know that a lot of times I make people laugh around me, not that I think I'm funny. I never thought I was funny. I make people laugh. I think it's because I'm so honest and I just say what's on my mind and because I also coming from a different point of view that surprises people. But it's only until like when I was at work, I was promoted to a manager. I was doing really well. I was working at a Hulu. I was leading a team, and a lot of times I need to make a public speaking, like a speech for my team, which is coming from a very genuine place. But I feel like there is a weird emotional block. I feel very uncomfortable in my skin. I have things to say, but like I have a visceral weird emotions. So I actually worked with a coach, and that goes all the way back of when I was young. My mom always took me out to work lunch with her coworkers, and I was put on the spot to make a toast. And I hated those people. I don't care about those people. And and then so I don't say anything nice. And then my mom, because I was too honest, I'm always like, I cannot lie. I cannot say something that I do not mean. And my mom would shame me in front of all her friends, saying I'm very bad at public speaking. So knowing that, I actually signed up for Toastmasters, knowing that it's very powerful because it wasn't me, it's that particular story that put in my head. So I signed up for Toastmasters, and they have this humorous speech contest, and I just challenged myself, and I won every single time. So I was like, this is fun. So 1 year I just challenged myself. You know what? I'm just going to go to one open mic by the end of the year as my New Year's resolution. And I did it in February. And then like since then, I would just people saw me. I kept doing it. I was good at it. So just fell in love with comedy.
Well, you were killing it at Hulu. You were killing it at Hulu, board member. You were doing, this is a very accomplished person because, she came over here already with an education, went to Purdue. A lot of you guys can't even get in Purdue right now because you can't write the application. But you are doing so well in Hulu. I'm sure there were people saying, wait, you're going to try comedy. Just stay with Hulu. Like, what type of support did you get or did you not get?
Oh, for sure. It's actually very interesting because I think um I think Americans are so nice. They are not going to come to your face. It's like, Bernice, you're stupid, right? Everybody is like, oh, good for you. But then you start to notice some people just disappeared from your social. Like they don't invite you to things anymore. It's like, oh, I'm embarrassed to be around this comedian person. And there are people who's like, kind of wish you luck, but they don't really believe in you. They were like, and I started doing comedy. Oh, actually, I have one coworker who is like, oh, Bernice, she can be a comedian, then anyone can be a comedian. There are people tell other people, they will never say in front of my face. But I think there are people who see that it just cannot wrap my head around, like why you would give up a good income, good position to do something that's so unglamorous, a lot of times undignified. So right, and then like once I left Hulu to pursue comedy full time, and that was actually in 2021, early 2021, so things hasn't fully opened up yet, and people just think I went crazy, and people just couldn't understand why would I do that, which I can give you good answers why I chose it to do that way. um but I think certain friends who see you as, oh, a successful person, all of a sudden have doubts and lose respect for you, and they don't really include you to their social life anymore.
Mm. Do you
Yeah, because
think?
I think because I think society still judges you when you don't have like a reliable job.
Okay. Now, do you think that you could have kept the same position and did comedy, or like, coworkers would come see you? Because Seattle, I've lived in Seattle. I lived in
Okay.
Pittsburgh as well. And, Seattle is small. So people, show up to things. Do you think that your comedy could have survived? Like, wait, she offended me last night, and now they're talking about you in, where the free beer and the free wine is. Because that's how it is in Seattle, you guys. Everything is,
Yeah.
all day. They don't want you to leave. Things are very comfortable when you work at tech companies.
Oh yeah.
But do you think you could have survived, and are you still working for Hulu?
I could actually. One of the things I like about Hulu is it's entertainment company, right? So and our headquarter is in LA. So we have a lot of coworkers, multi-talented who are also screenwriters who have done work in the film background. So the company actually don't really judge you for having other creative outlets. However, it's only when I become a people manager, then I realize, here's the thing. I work, especially during the pandemic. I get up first thing in the morning, there's work is already piling up on you. And then I'm in non-stop meetings. I barely have time to eat lunch. Like I have like maybe 30 minutes to an hour lunch break usually. And then by the time I finish work at 6 p.m., I am burned. I have no brain power left. Like for you to be creative, that's not a mental state you can be in, right? And so for me to go to an open mic and for 3 minutes, my brain is burned. I usually don't have the energy. And so it's hard to work on my craft. And that point, I realized I could, if I spend more time to work on my craft, I need to dial back on the energy I spend on the work. But because I'm a people manager, so it's not just me. I am I am impacting my team member, their career and goals. Because I'm actually a really good people manager, so I care about their long-term career goal and how much I invest in them, and it's very time consuming. So at that point, I decided I don't want to so selfishly taking that to comedy instead of compromise the time I could have spent on my team member. So I
That
made a choice. Yeah, it's like what if I'm like tech is always there. I have a good reputation. If I leave now, no bridge is going to be burned, right? So if I take, so I said 3 years, to invest in comedy. I just want to see what I can do with 100% of focus, because time, like I have to turn down gigs because I have work. I have to say no to a lot of opportunities because I have work. So I just want to say, okay, if I don't have work, I have the time, what I can do. And I think what I learned is that since February 2021, I left my job. I quit it to do comedy full time. The growth I have encountered was absolutely exponential. So I do not regret that decision at all.
Okay, because in one of your comedy bits, you talk about being, the rice winner of the family.
Mm-hmm.
You're married, and so then, okay, I'm going to quit my job, and then, okay, comedy. It's entertainment, so it's going to have its
Yeah.
ups, downs, it's great times, and all that. Other comedians have talked about how they paid their husband's student loans off with comedy. So it's just so interesting. But you are too, I don't think people would talk about you too much anyway, because what you have shown on your Instagram, some martial arts, like you have a perfect kick. I'm just curious. So in case before we see what Michael Jai White are in, whatever movie, what is your discipline that you trained in martial arts?
Oh my god. So first it's Taekwondo. That's the one that I'm mainly training in. I just started learning Eskrima, which is the Filipino stick fighting, but I'm an absolute beginner. Yeah.
Okay. Now that stick fighting, is that also the one that's really like supposed to be sword fighting too? Or is that?
Yes. When we were practicing, it's cut the head, poke the eyes, and it's like slice the thighs. We say slice a lot. So definitely sword.
Okay. And so this is, goes into, she might look like this, you guys, but this is a real killer if she wanted to be. So don't just run up on stage because you might get beat down, hit with the mic.
This is my Taekwondo pads I practice with.
Awesome. That's beautiful. Talk about, I want to talk about two things. Stereotypes, one, of being a female and being Chinese in this industry, because, Americans like to fetishize still so many people, Brazilians, Asians. Oh, if you get one of these women, they're just going to be so kind and nice, not knowing that they know how to cut your eyes, kick you down, sweep you, all that good stuff. In comedy, have you felt any of that stigmatism or stereotypes or anything like that? Or has it just been kind of people, or even in America, period? Because I like it to be a learning moment, because I like to get that nonsense out. Because we got guys thinking, oh, if I get an Asian woman or if I get a woman from here, things are going to be so beautiful, not understanding they're the problem, or we're all the problem sometimes.
Oh, it's so funny. So first of all, it's the stereotype is like, because I grew up in China, right? Realize everyone around me is Chinese. So I wasn't aware of any of the stereotypes that American people know. Like I came in, I have no idea that people assume, I mean, if you go to China, it's like Chinese women being submissive is the exact opposite of what we're known for. Like if you we're all bitches, like it's so like that is funny to me. I laughed, it's like what? That's what I mean. Also the martial art, it's like maybe like it's a thing they put on like Asian Americans, but in China, like I was not allowed to learn martial art. Like I would love to learn martial art, but then when I grew up, China was poor, and then everybody was in this education system that it's math and Chinese and then do textbook studies. Physical activities, we don't really spend any time on it. So like I love the dancing. I wasn't allowed to dance. I need to focus on schoolwork. So like most of people don't know martial art unless you are like a national champion. So then the country want you to do that to learn like medals and stuff. So first of all, I'm not aware. And I think the first maybe 5 years or 10 years, I am completely just walking around full of confidence, not knowing any of the stereotype. And it was great in a way that they say ignorance is a bless, right? It's the what's the saying?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I feel. Chinese will have a saying that the newborn calves are not afraid of tiger. And that's how I feel because, and a lot of time people say, where did you get all that confidence? So, well, I came from the country where I'm the majority. I'm not a white people when I was in China. Just think about that for a second, right? So I have that confidence. And then I came here, I'm the minority, but in the beginning, I do not know. And then when I start to work more, when I start to speak English better, when I learn the culture better, then I at the workplace again, there's a lot of more sexual discrimination, like because I work in tech, there are very few women, and so I feel more of that. But I didn't even know the intricate difference on the Asian woman part. Only when I start doing comedy, oh my goodness, overwhelming amount of information for me to realize how people talk to me. Because like at work, it's a professional environment. They've done some level of training. And then, I also have a strong identity about where my work is. I have that confidence. I'm good at this. I'm a manager. People respect my work. But at comedy, then people see me. They just assume I'm weak, I am shy, I am the stereotype, right? And the way people talk to me are very different. And even some of my comedian friends, I know they have a good intention, but a lot of times they will give me a tag, from a good place, trying to, I don't know, sometimes just help me, sometimes just to show they are better than me. But like either way, I don't think they're malicious, but they will give me a tag that is just doubling down on the stereotypes. Oh, it's like, oh, like if Bernice, you're Chinese, how about end this with a massage, happy ending, whatever. It's so gross to me. And then so in comedy, I start to learn and become very aware of stereotype and being the recipient of that culture.
That's crazy. So you guys can learn how offensive, some of that is, because there's not enough mixing. And I don't know if you ever saw Dave Chappelle when he had his show, he did the parody with Wayne Brady, and he showed if Wayne Brady was bad, right? And maybe that's how Wayne Brady really is, but that's not how most of America knew him. I would love to see a character, like a real life character talent that is Asian, like Chinese.
Yeah.
And we give her a BBL, right? And she's fully stacked. So she's looking like Beyonce and Cardi B and Megan and all that. And everything that people think, oh man, I think I could get with that. And then they get with it. But then she's like, oh, that was okay. I'm going to go over to your brother or something. And she just be totally, what they don't think, like, she broke my heart, I fell in love, something like that, like a whole series. This person is a rapper, because I think it's coming. Like if we wanted to just, I think it's coming with, that. And I said, once the Asian women start getting BBLs, you guys are going to be so just running to Asia, only to find out when you really get to know the woman, like, this is left in America. So
it's very true. I mean, you mentioned another thing about the whole Asian, like fetishized Asian woman. It's interesting because I have never dated anyone who have dated an Asian woman before, meaning that like I have not dated or not even been going on real dates anyone who have Asian fetish, because I don't know, in real life I'm actually very intimidating. I don't I don't I'm nice and sweet. But like if somebody who come out with that vibe of like, oh, then they will realize I'm not what they're looking for very quickly. And so I've never been asked out by anyone with the Asian fetish.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. That's a
Yeah,
beautiful.
on Instagram it's different, right? On Instagram, now that I have more followings, so you get random people's message, that's different. But in real life, actually, people might have asked me, but then right away, I think they just don't get the same vibe, and then just like I've never gone on dates with them.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good. Like I say, if you guys are listening or you guys know anybody and says, look, they'll do the BBL, let's create that talent so we can
Yeah.
break down, all stereotypes. Plus, I don't know. I don't all that, surgery and all that. I mean, it's so you talk about that actually in one of your bits with, the eye
You mean
surgery.
eye surgery? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It, Is that something that the West has put into China, or has it always been a stigmatism in the culture where, you should have this surgery? Because what's wrong with what you're born with?
oh my goodness. Yeah, so this thing is I need to really go back and learn because sometimes you were born into it and then you don't even know what's the origin, how this thing got started, right? But I just know that growing up, everyone around me just like because here's the thing, like do you know about the difference between the monolids and the double lid eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So it's true that if you are Chinese, some people are naturally born with this double-lid eye, which is considered beautiful. I mean, I guess in a way that eyes are the window to your soul. People, when you look at big goggly eyes, that's why I like cats and dogs, I guess, right? But then the thing is, I don't know who created this thing about like whatever we look like are not beautiful. I don't know because when I grew up, the moment I was born, like, my mom was already ashamed of her eyes, of my grandma's eyes. And then at the moment I was born, like, as far as I remember, as a baby, I didn't open my eyes for a day or two. My mom, everyone in the family already making fun of my eyes. Oh no, this girl have small eyes. And then my mom actually cut my eyelashes in the when I was just born because she's like, oh, if you cut it now, she will have a longer eyelashes. So people are very concerned with the eyes. And I do remember any Western movies, we not Western, but like American, from the West, the movies. People were always, oh my God, this lady have beautiful blue eyes, blonde hair. They fetishize that, like we somehow admire that could be coming from the colonialism happened before because there's so many colonies in China were occupied by the Western country, but I actually do not know. It just is very widely spread because it's almost considered if you don't have those eyes, you will not be happy in your life. You will not be able. You can have the best grades. You will not be able to find a job. Like in China, people can judge you on those type of things, and like you will not be successful at work. So what do you do? Oh, my daughter is finished school at high school. No, now it's time to get a surgery so you can be set up for life.
Wow. So you guys here, you could not get a job. It reminds me of, I believe it's season 3, episode 1 of Black Mirror, where if you don't have so many points, you can't even go to work. Uh, and that's so like gonna be Seattle, and I'm from California originally, but that is so like just it's shallow. If you don't have this, if you don't have this bag, you don't have this car, what, you don't have a Tesla, why don't you have a Tesla? So that's crazy. You can't. So do you think it's true? Have you seen folks who haven't got the surgery and their lives aren't maybe as great as others that they measure up with?
Oh, so that I don't know, but I feel like it's almost like everyone gets it, and if you don't, then then your life suck, and that's because why? I think it's almost less about oh, you get a surgery, your life will blossom. It's more like you don't have it, and every single failure you have in life is that yeah, you have small eyes. That's why.
And just to be clear, because somebody might be hearing this or watching this for the first time, and they'll say, but does it impact your vision negatively or positively at all if you do or if you don't have it?
You're not supposed to have like an impact on the vision. I have not looked into the data of like what could be the long-term side effects of it. I think right now the surgery is very well established, especially in South Korea and then China is catching on. So like the technology, apparently it's such an easy routine thing. You get it done in and out type of thing.
It's crazy. It's crazy how the grass is always greener on the other side, because I remember when the rapper Foxy Brown came out and other people, they're like, oh, she has eyes kind of like an Asian woman and she's this black woman. And it's like, okay, but then the Asian woman would be like, no, I want to have eyes like this person.
Right.
And then in Brazil, for what, where the BBLs really, I guess, originated from, it's like, no, I need to look like how they look in South Africa in certain parts, because that's how they naturally look. They don't need a BBL in many places in Africa so everyone, I don't know, crazy how that works. You guys love yourself. It's okay.
I know. Yeah, it took a long time for me to feel okay, because like living in China, you just don't even think that, you just feel ashamed. But then once you come to America, and then it took me a while, because when people will compliment, oh, you have beautiful eyes, so what are you talking about? And then it took a long time to finally feel like comfortable in my skin and feel good. And now I do love my eyes. It's like, I don't care what people say. Oh, speaking of which, one of my jokes on TikTok was kind of stolen or being like ripped off and being posted into a Chinese platform without giving the credit and stuff. Of course, it did went viral, but not for the reason that people think it's funny. Every man is talking shit about my eyes and then my makeup. They're like, oh, I cannot even look at her. She's so ugly. Her makeup is so ugly, and her eyes are so small. Yeah, so that was the whole thing.
That's crazy. And are these men, because I'm gonna guess these are probably Asian or white guys saying this?
Chinese men in China.
Chinese men in China. So that's the thing. Again, Chinese men, you say that if your women do get the BBLs I'm talking about, you won't have any more women. They'll be taken off. All the NBA will be over in China real quick. Everything. So watch how you talk. Now, are your jokes, would you say you're as funny in Mandarin as you are in English? Because, tonality is everything. And Mandarin is very, tonal language. So there's different pitches and everything. Are you as funny in both languages?
In Chinese, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so because I haven't got a lot of opportunities to like do any sort of stand up and things in Chinese. And I think in English I always have a different point of view. In Chinese, I think if I share my different point of view, is all about my experience in America more, so it depends on the audience. I have posted my Chinese content. Like, so I would took a joke and I was speaking Mandarin and make a video, post on social, and the people like it. But I've never performed that in front of a live audience, so I don't know. But when I speak English, I feel there is a higher level of freedom. I think if I were to explain that, is because the first 21 years I was living in China, I was still, I think, a child in a way that like my thinking is more like I have never dated, right, when I was in China, or I have never worked. I mean, I dated, but I'm not like dated in America. And I've not worked in a professional environment in China. So my language or vocabulary or my thinking is more associated with that part of my life. But the big transformation of how my worldview and how I see, feel is after I came to America and I was thinking and observing in English. So I feel like some of that freedom and wit and then something of like being different come from my observation in English.
Okay. And it sounds like in your comedy too, that there's certain things that, you say for the Chinese, say Bing Bing is still being followed by the Chinese government. So there's certain things that you may want to not say in Chinese or maybe considered rude to your typical, and I'm saying for the elders,
Yeah.
Chinese, it might be offensive to talk about some certain things.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the that's also another reason now I'm posting less and less on TikTok. Yeah, because some of the content, like, it's very interesting. The content being perceived the reactions are very differently on Instagram and TikTok because there are a lot of Chinese audience on TikTok.
My friends oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, like, some of the things that we think is funny, and then, like, we will have a sense of humor. Even the Chinese Americans have a sense of humor about, but then, like, the Chinese people in China feel that's very offensive. Like, anything a little bit negative about the Chinese culture, they just like, oh my God, like, how dare you? Oh, sorry, I just snapped the table. I hope that's not too bad. How dare you to do that? But then, like, I feel like in part of the American culture, we're always have this thing about, like, self-deprecating. We poke fun at our system, poke fun at ourselves, we talk shit about president, right? Like, it's just a part of the culture, but like in China, it's just not unthinkable.
Got you. And we want you to be able to go back and, forth. But my friends in Seattle, having a Chinese show at like the Wing Luke Museum, how cool would that be? You can do half and half, but I'm just trying to think of some cool places in like Chinatown in Seattle.
I would love that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Now, is there, because you said you never dated like that until you came here. I have some people who say America has the spirit of whoredom over it. So when you got to America, were you like, wait, you can wear that and like come down to Miami? I'm in South Florida. You could be naked and know that people are like, oh, okay. Like, how did you feel? Is it freeing? Is it a good thing for society as a whole? Like, did it come over you where you're like, oh, I can do the splits right here if I want? Give us your thoughts.
Oh yeah, it's so interesting because when I say I've never dated like that, okay, here's the thing. So in China, obviously, for us in high school all the way up till college, before college, dating is just not allowed. Not allowed at all. Like, you're ashamed. And me being a rebel, like, I've always been a rebel. Like, in high school, I fell in love with a boy, and it was got caught by the teacher, and then we were very secretly, like, nobody can see us together. You have to, like, kind of using a secret message and stuff, like, have a whole underground operation going. But then yeah, I know, but you got caught by the teacher, and then the whole thing went downhill, and then that's the most traumatized experience still up to this day in my life. And I decided to drop out from my high school the last 3 months before the college entrance exam to study on my own. So it's a long story for another time, right? But then, like, it's difficult for you to date. There's no such thing as a date. And then once I went to college, you can have a boyfriend, but still it's kind of a little shamed around. Like, you can have a boyfriend, but the moment that you kiss each other, people will like, oh, ew. Like, so there's things you still have to feel like very ashamed. You feel like you have to hide. Making out, you gotta find a dark spot in the forest. I don't know. Like, it just, you feel like I'm not supposed to do this thing.
Wow. And so when you come to America and you're like, hold on, you mean you got 12 and 13-year-olds not just making out in the bathroom at the high school or wherever, the middle school, wherever they're at? I mean, yeah. I can only imagine the shock to say, wow. Does it free you up, when you came here? Was it an experience that you would say, I wish all of my friends could feel this? Or is it kind of like, I like how China is and let America stay America and be, Sodom and Gomorrah?
Oh my God. When I first came to America, I loved it immediately. I know that I talk about like I came to Purdue, I went to Indiana, and people were like, oh, Indiana. But even that, I loved it. So first to clarify, it's Midwest, and it's a small college town, but then like people are really nice. And that's one of the misconception people have about people in the Midwest. But I was treated very nicely. People helped the foreign students. Maybe some of them they were trying to get us to go to the church, so that's why they're so nice to us. But either way, I was treated very nicely by the locals and my classmates and at the school. It has a lot of international students as well. Um, and then the thing is at the school there's a lot of other international students. I remember they have a little welcome party, and then there's one guy, he's British, and then he has blue hair, like looks crazy, but then like they played the Michael Jackson. We just had a dance off, like because I love Michael Jackson. He like we just like immediately hit it on you because in China we learned British English, so I was speaking this British pronunciation, but with Chinese accent. Like I would say tomato, like so immediately we hit it off. We started dating. That was really fun. But it was immediately frowned upon by my Chinese fellow student at Purdue.
Mm.
So yeah, so there's like two sides because a lot of the Chinese male student who are more senior than me when I came, they were like, "Oh, another girl, for adding to the dating pool." And then when I did not date one of the Chinese guys, they were like, "Oh, she's the one like." Or like sell out to the Western stuff, and then so they talk shit about me. Um, and immediately I was disowned by the Chinese community at Purdue.
Wow, wow. Now you came, you went to like the Harvard in China, Peking University. Is it because you were expected to be a certain way? I don't know if you're like a Hung Chinese, you might be the blue blood of Chinese. Were you supposed to, act this certain way? Is that why? Because of the maybe class and university you came from?
It's less about that. But I think how to say this? Like I came from the university, and some of my class seniors have usually traditionally, if someone is my alumni, um, like people also from Peking University, and they have somebody more junior than them to come, they have a responsibility to help them and then to welcome them to coming in. And not necessarily in return you're supposed to date them, but like in return you need to give them a chance or something like that. It's like a little bit unspoken, but it's never official. It's
Mm.
it's weird. Yeah.
Okay, no, I get it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
old school is what it is.
Oh,
And you came for the new school. Could you imagine if you would have started dating one of the basketball players, or even worse? And they're like, hold on, she's dating now one of those, tall basketball players from, wherever, doesn't matter what side. But then
yeah.
if you flipped it now and said, actually, I'm going to date one of the volleyball players, and I mean like the women, right? Their head up. Whoa. So that, unlike coming to Seattle, where you can see a grown 6'5" man in a dress with a full beard, and I promise you guys won't say anything to him because he may know jiu-jitsu and be able to choke you out. And the last thing you want to do is be choked out by a man in a dress. So the cultural shock, was there cultural shock when you came to Seattle to say, wow, what did I enter?
In Seattle, let's see. Oh my God, I think the first, so when I did my master's degree at Purdue, I dropped out from PhD program. I got my master's and then I got run. um, so that's 2 years. And then when I came to Seattle, it's because of Microsoft hired me as a full-time job. And at the time, I'm still this person that is kind of like a Chinese hard worker. You know what I mean? Like I just so focused on the work. Um, I remember I my apartment is like 10 minutes away from work, right? So I would finish work. I would go eat dinner, take a nap, take a 15 to half an hour nap, and then go back to work and work until midnight. I was the only one in the office stay late because at the time, um, who is this person? And then like I just want to prove myself. Um, and then my work was very quickly recognized, but I think the first I was very dedicated into working hard. But then again, at work there's so much. I worked at Xbox, so a lot of people are like video gamers. It's like I was the only girl in my big group, and a lot of times like people will treat you in the way it's, you know, half of them were like, you're the only girl, so I want to hang out, I want to tell you everything. But half of them is like, Bernice, like I would go at lunch and they're all talking about Halo, talking about video games. And then they're like, Bernice, you can leave if you don't want to talk about Halo. They literally said, like, Bernice, if it's too boring, you can leave.
They're, they're so cold sometimes in tech and they don't even know it. And half of them, you know, are in sales. Yeah, I'm talking about you guys now. Since I don't have to worry about it, I'm just contracted, you know, at this point.
Yeah.
But half of you are in sales, and then it's like if you don't really fit in. But you worked at Xbox. I have a friend who worked at Xbox that you must know then. His name is Arif. Shout out to Arif Gersel.
Great.
Arif, yeah. He might have been the only black guy at Xbox at the time, but I know he worked there. So I'm just shouting him out, whatnot.
Okay.
You know, I'm sure that somewhere in Seattle, you guys have probably crossed paths.
Okay,
Um,
I'm gonna look him up. I'm pretty sure if we don't like work within the group, we know a lot of mutual contact.
yeah, and now I'm cheating because I just did a search and I'm looking at your LinkedIn and I see you do know Arif. So I'm that good, you guys.
Ah!
It's a gift, y'all, and it is such. I love it. Let the people know though, comedy wise, if they say, you know what, I want to do what you did. I want to quit my job, you know, a good job at that, you know, great job at that, and you're on your way up. Were you able to quit once you could match your salary, or did you step out on faith and say, I'm going to quit because I know that I just can't serve two masters? But where should they be looking at for their salary when they step into comedy, since it's not guaranteed?
Totally, totally. I think for me, it's actually a very careful thinking process that I went through. Because part of that is, I think for me to be creative, that I cannot be constantly worried about surviving. Like if I am so desperately thinking about what to eat the next day, I don't think I'm in the right mindset to be creative. Like that's the worst than me have a 9 to 5 job and then feeling burned out by the end of the day, right? So but step back a little bit is 5 years before I quit even, and then I had this vision. I haven't started doing comedy yet, and I had this vision that like I want to find my creative outlet, something that like I will do it professionally that will generate income, but I have a passive income where I set myself up financially that I can support myself to not rely on that income from this creative outlet so I can further pursue it. So that's my vision I set up for 5 years. And that is something that I worked very hard to do. So even though like I have a job, I don't spend nearly as much as my friends or co-workers with the same income bracket. I invest them. I look for ways to invest my money. I also put more work in real estate. I know I'm going to get people talk shit about landlords are terrible, whatever, but it's for me, it's not true. I spend a lot of time in the summer in Seattle. You know, summer in Seattle is the only time you have good weather. And my friends will ask me, Bernice, let's hang out. And a lot of times I'm fixing stuff. I'm on my knees painting walls, you know, like I did a lot of sacrifice to set myself up so I could have some level of financial stability. And when I found the comedy, I said, oh, that's it. That's the creative outlet. Sorry, my throat. I'm going to take a sip of water.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. And while you take that water, I'm going to tell the people, I'm not going to ask her, what that passive income thing was. If she wants you to know, she'll put it on her podcast. When you go to her website, you can see it, you can binge listen and see if she, gives those tidbits, because you can only get so much game without investing the time and then saying, wait, it's funny. Kellen was right. Let's book her, especially those in Seattle, all the way down that coast, so she can hit that Laugh Factory. I don't know if you've hit it yet.
Oh, I'm in LA now, by the way. Did you know that? Like, I moved to LA now.
Oh, you're in LA now.
I'm in LA. Yeah, I just
Okay.
moved here a month ago. I moved there a month ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Okay. So she's in LA. Please don't wear any diamond jewelry. Apparently, you can't go to any restaurant or anywhere. Nas just got robbed in Calabasas while he was. Yeah. I mean, his house was, they burglarized it, whatever. But it's just like, my goodness. Being from California, I'm happy to be away. The problem is you guys can't have firearms where we can go into, whether it's church or the store, fully, concealed carry. And so the criminals, they know who to look for, but it's crazy.
Are you serious? Oh my.
Yeah. I mean, it's Florida, so it's the South, or Southeast.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. That's awesome. So you moved to LA so you can do more gigs, I would guess.
Yeah. I would like to do more gigs, but also I feel like this is what I have observed about LA. The comedy scene is hard because there's so many talents here, right? I came here in February. I stayed for a month just to trial to see what's the scene like. If I come here, would I be buried? And I learned, just like, you need to set your expectations. Like in Seattle, I would do 20 minutes, 30 minutes. People know me. I got paid. In LA, I come here, hoping to do my 5 minutes. You to do bringer shows and people don't know me. That's kind of like, okay, I have to reset my expectation, let people to know me, reapprove myself. But I'm okay with that, because when I was in LA, when I was seeing the top talent people playing, I was like, wow, okay, that's a whole different level. And I want to be inspired and want to be around that. And also, if I'm good, let's see. I've got to push myself, and I want to play at Laugh Factory, the improv, and be singing by the right people too. So I want to, hey, I'm ready to put in the work and prove myself.
That's awesome. Can you talk about, because coming to LA, and I'm from the Bay Area, I'm from Oakland. So it's like LA can make you or break you. They can make somebody who wants to be an actor. The only acting you're going to do is in West Hollywood. And you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, Mr. Marcus and Pinky got something for you down there. But can you talk about, like, it's almost like a spirit of sort, like, to keep pushing you. Hey, do you do cocaine? Hey, do you go to the parties with the mask, eyes wide shut? Like, again, another culture shock. Talk about that, because you also recently got married, and female comedians aren't known to keep their husbands, because comedy and entertainment is hard. Marriage is hard, period. I've done it for, over 15 years.
I know. Also, so here's the thing, like, I have a very different point of view on my priorities and stuff. Like, I feel like my life's goal is still stay grounded, stay happy, and just like, I think that's the healthy, be happy, and try to fulfill my bigger purpose, right? So comedy, at the end of the day, doesn't work out, I'm still me. Okay, I feel like part of, like, sharing the life with my partner. I worked so hard to find my husband, and that's a lot of more work. Okay, and then so I feel like I want to have a foundation. Okay, and then I can do anything I want. Like, comedy does not define me. I do comedy because I want to just speak for my people, my first generation immigrant experience. Because I feel like so many of the the immigrant stories are told by other people were the second gen and beyond at the best, and still is so much about the stereotypes. That's kind of my bigger purpose. But then the thing is, like, if all fails, my dad took me to a Buddhist temple in China, in on an island. It's a beautiful island. It's like smaller version of Hawaii, tropical island. There's a Buddhist temple there, and that was a long time ago. That was in the 90s. And then the monks, they don't need to pay things. They don't need to work. They have cell phones. And I was like, that's a life. Like, I was like, they have beach. They live on the island. They have beach view. They don't have stress. I was like, that's really nice. So since then, I was like, you know what? If all that fails, all I need to do is afford a plane ticket to go to that island. I'll be a monk. And that's my dream life. So I have that in mind. And so whenever life gets hard, it was like, can I still go to that island to be a monk? Because they accept anyone, you know? So I think that's okay.
I mean, it's okay. It's going to be a lot of, a lot of Americans who are, TikTokers right now, going to be running for that beach saying, can I be a monk? Because I want that soft life. I don't want to have to work necessarily. But with the success that you're having, and the best is yet to come, it's still, fresh. What's a community give back that you're doing or that you would like to do in the future?
I think there's different steps. So okay, you're the first one to hear this. First one,
Awesome.
my vision. This is my vision. For me, with the way I see comedy is like I have a major mindset shift. Before, when I do comedy, it's like, hey, I'm funny, I'm sharing my stories. But then, like, now I realize it's a lot about customer service. It's like, who are your comedy for? Are you make their life better? Do they feel inspired or more empowered after hearing what you were talking about, right? And for me, so much so is about the first generation immigrant experience, also the culture sharing. Like, immigrants who come from another culture, they come here, love America. And I do Argentine tango, so like I have a lot of friends. They are like from Argentina, or the international group who does tango or taekwondo. Like my Korean master is kind of like my father. So I want to have this comedy show. It's almost like a Michael Jackson concert type. You know, like before Michael Jackson, you do a musician concert, you play your hits. Maybe you have a lot of spectacle of your music, but then the show is a much richer entertainment experience with a Michael Jackson concert. So I want to bring in the different cultures and different art form into a comedy show. So that's kind of what I want to, not just me, but also showcase the different cultures in a way that people relate and understand, to understand a little bit more of the deeper part of the culture.
I love it. I love it. You might have seen me joke real quick because I had this crazy thing. You're doing it your way, the right way, because if you wanted to go viral, you could easily, take a machine gun that shoots bubbles, shoot it into the crowd, and then it goes viral. It would start with Chinese comedian shoots crowd or something, and then find out it's bubbles, or you start, twerking and having, all these gimmicks where you're giving pure comedy of this is my perspective, and it's needed. We need more, even on TV. I've said it to Hollywood, to New York. We need more Asians in the real experience, because you name a show and people can only name 2 shows. You name a movie, most people can only name, Better Luck Tomorrow is still a better film than something that's just stereotypical, because it showed Asian Americans and they were committing what I would say are really American crimes. I still think that's a true story, but I can't tell you guys too much about that. Why? But Better Luck Tomorrow is a great movie, and it wasn't stereotypical where it was showing real life in suburban America, and it could have easily have been black, white, Mexican, in between. So I really like that movie. But I like the way that you're doing it, because it's not gimmicks, you're not corny. So I want you to just keep pushing and doing you. And if anyone says anything, let me know if you need the backing, because sometimes you need a goon hand behind the scenes, because people start disappearing.
I know we do need that. Oh my God, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I'm very bad at self-promoting.
Well, and that's why there's teams, but I mean, again, you're on your way, and just keep pushing. I mean, nothing is gonna stop that. And it's not like it's the magic anything, but it's just keep getting out there. You have your YouTube. Are you at all interested in, YouTube skits seem to be a big thing, but are you more of a purist of stand-up than doing skits? What's your thoughts on that?
So I have been taking acting classes since April, and now that I'm taking from the same school, but like from Zoom now, I'm doing more in person. I definitely are preparing myself for more acting, and I think like I write a script right into, but I feel like I get the most joy doing stand up. And it's a balancing act, because I look at my goal, right? Like I like to tell the first generation immigrant story, so I want to write my own story. That's why I write my comedy. And comedy sketch is one of the things on the roadmap for me. Right now is I think it takes a team, right? So it's never a bad idea to keep on your ideas in a stack, and then when you find the right people, the universe gave you. I feel like when the right time happens, there is a sign. You meet the people, boom, and then you're ready. So it's a little spiritual experience, I think.
Yeah, it's like being on stage. It's something about that. So you guys have got the game. Again, I don't want to say everything that I want to say, because there's some things that you need to go check out on her YouTube. You need to check out the podcast. You can go get some products. You can even get chopsticks, you guys.
Oh, I know.
Chopsticks. You can get it all. And if you see something you want, reach out and contact her. She's very active on Instagram. Check it out. You have any last words?
Last words, I just want to keep in touch, because I think you're super cool. You're so fun. And one of the days I will see what you really look like. I feel like it's a little bit unfair that you know what I look like. I probably don't know. Like, you're better at protecting your identity than me from the Chinese government.
We have tips and all type of proxies and different things that we do. But yeah, I mean, you can see me on here. People say, hey, behind the shades or stand up. Check out my Instagram, you guys. Check out my LinkedIn. You can see all 200 pounds of pure, unadulterated muscle. That's what it is. So I thank you for coming on. You guys, I tell you, the best conversations are always offline, but you can't be there. So you got to wait for the next, whether it's a game overload or the next episode. Make sure, if you do nothing else, you share this with somebody. It will change their life. Be blessed, y'all.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stress the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kelly Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.